Hi, I'm Nathan Guffey with Guffey Systems. Today we're going to be discussing vertical finishing. I'm sure that you had this question at some point if you've ever considered changing from flat to vertical finishing. Spraying vertical, yes, you're going to have a small learning curve like anything. Nobody jumped on a bicycle right off the bat and learned it without having some training wheels for a few days. Same thing with going from flat finishing to vertical. I'm a cabinet maker myself. I've been in the industry for over 21 years now. 17 of those I sprayed flat and knew that I needed to change something because, like most of you, I would say 99% of you probably experience a bottleneck in your finishing operation. I know I did for years, and I addressed that through changing to vertical finishing. That has completely eliminated the bottleneck that I experience in my booth. If you think about it, there's hundreds of different flat racking options in the industry. I think there's a reason for that. I think the standard in the industry for decades has been to spray cabinet doors flat. My grandfather taught my dad to spray flat. My dad taught me to spray flat. And for years, that's all I did. That's all I knew. And I knew at some point I needed to make a change. Going vertical is the best change I ever made. It has opened up my entire operation to where we're no longer waiting for doors to come out of the booth. I would argue that making that change from flat to vertical would probably be the biggest impact you would see in your entire operation. You know, in the industry, spraying flat, I've heard it a lot. I used to think the same thing. Like, I can pour that finish on or that paint, I can really put it on there heavy. Yeah, you can, and you don't have to worry with sags, but putting it on too thick can cause its own problems. So as far as product use, I find that I'm using less spraying vertically, and it's not that I'm not putting enough product on, it's that I'm more mindful of how I'm applying the product, and I'm not going to overcoat that door to the point where it can get sags in it. For years, I dealt with, when I would spray flat, I would lay the door down on the turntable, spray it, and I would rack it. More often than not, come into the booth after you think your doors are done and dust has fallen from the ceiling, a moth, mosquito, fly, any type of debris could get into that wet paint, which requires rework. Rack a door on a flat rack, you spray one side, flip it, you think the back side is cured, you flip it over only to find that it's stuck to the racks. That's another reason that I knew I wanted to switch to vertical finishing, because I constantly had issues with debris getting in paint and doors sticking to racks. Another advantage I've found with finishing vertical is finishing like this with the door. It's basically right here at eye level. You can see the door very easily. You're able to see any imperfections in the door, like if you're going through the priming process, you see a crack at a joint or a dent. It tends to show it very easily with good cross lighting across that door. So I'm able to find issues in the door better than I was spraying flat, and I can address those while they're here on the line before the top coat was applied. Material handling, that's another huge advantage here. Using our pivot line system, you can see I've got some doors hanging here, where comparing to how I used to spray finishing flat, you'd spray one door at a time, take that door, put it on a rack, grab another door, repeat that process. While in between that, you're putting a spray gun down to put your door on the rack and then pick it up every time. On average, I would imagine, like myself, each of you probably are going to touch a door 10 to 12 times if you use the flat spraying method. On this system, comparing that, I'll handle this door. Obviously, it's got to be handled to be hung up and then taken down after finish. But in comparing the amount of times that I'll touch this door, I'm going to take it off of here one time to sand it. Then obviously it's going to be hung back up. So I guess you could count that as 2 times to remove the door for sanding and then hang it back up. After that, all the scuff sanding, spraying here vertically, all the scuff sanding's done while it hangs, so I'm not having to grab that door. Another huge benefit of spraying like this is if I've got somebody here moving parts, if I've got 100 gallons of paint to spray, my spray gun never has to go out of my hand. The way this system works, you can see the cars, they'll just roll down the track, so I can move large amounts of product at once. But on the material handling aspect, where you can rotate that door to spray the back, hit your edges from the back, 90-degree incremental blocking, you can turn it here and be able to spray those doors, and then they just get moved right back on to the rack. So still comparing the flat finishing and racking like I was used to, I've cut out the maximum amount of handling possible. Another advantage with spraying vertically, one that's been a huge benefit to me, is being able to stand in an upright position when spraying. Spraying flat on a rack, you can't have that door up high to your chest level to be able to spray it, because you got to be able to look down to be able to see all the detail. So that typically means a lower platform, bent over the door, spraying it up and down numerous times, which takes a toll on your back and your neck, and leaning over trying to see that door. Standing with the door, or standing here upright facing that door, there is no bending over. You're in the same position pretty much all day long, not having to bend over and affect your back or your neck muscles. So that's a huge benefit that I've seen that typically you probably wouldn't think of as a huge advantage in that. I didn't until I started spraying this way, but I've noticed that I don't have back pain at the end of the day after spraying 100 or 200 doors. Finally, I'm going to speak to you about the biggest advantage of all. I know this is going to hit home with whether you're a finisher, whether you're a shop owner. We all know spraying flat and racking, we have to go spray those doors whenever we can, whether it's late after work, go in earlier in the morning to get that extra coat on, work through the weekend just so that set of cabinet doors is ready to go in the cabinet the following week. Biggest thing I've seen with vertical finishing, the thing I love the most, is I'm no longer in this booth every evening, on the weekends, whenever I can find a second to spray a coat. It has eliminated that. As I mentioned first off, it's eliminated my bottleneck. It's eliminated having to be here on the weekends, the evenings, and each of you can take back your weekends, take back your evenings by switching to vertical finishing with Guffey systems.